Welcome to the Last Minute Fantasy Scramble. I'm Kevin K. Mac McCartney. With me today, we got Bobby Digital Janis and we got Bud Stanio. And Bud, I know it was a big day for you yesterday. I heard those tables smashing all the way down from Florida. So before I get into that Buffalo game, I do want to take a look at that first game. We had the Packers at the Rams. And Bobby, what were your thoughts in that game?
Yeah, we'll start with the Rams side. Coming in, Cooper Kupp being out for them was a pretty significant blow, not only because he adds another playmaking element to Jared Goff in the passing game, but he's so vital in their run blocking, how they use their receivers to run block in that running system under McVay. That was a big reason why that was a blow to them, as well as Aaron Donald not being 100% healthy definitely made its impact on the offensive line, or I'm sorry, on the defensive line, as the Packers dominated the line of scrimmage in that game. But starting with the Rams, first off, Cam Akers, I mean, just finishing off a really good second half of that season. 18 carries, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Credit to Sean McVay for sticking with the run, not abandoning it. Jared Goff, 21 of 27 for only 174 and a touchdown, but he didn't turn the ball over, and they were able to move the ball with some sort of success against Green Bay. So despite being undermanned on offense, it was a good, I would say it's a respectable showing by them. Their defense was the one that had issues. They were the number one defense coming into the NFL, and they just got manhandled. They got out-physicaled by Green Bay's offensive line. Green Bay's play calling and execution was really good in that game, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But they definitely frustrated Aaron Donald. You saw an uncharacteristic, unsportsmanlike conduct, costly penalty by him. Jalen Ramsey, you saw, got beat a few times, and he was getting frustrated as well. But if you're a Rams fan, I think you have to be encouraged because mainly, well, you got Cam Akers, who, again, like I mentioned, trying to picked it up the second half of the season. I think a lot of these rookies, like we saw Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, really take off the second half of the year. I mean, no preseason games and going in the NFL, it's a different field, it's a different speed, and so it takes these rookies some time to get up to speed. But Cam Akers, I think, is going to be the new Todd Gurley from McVay's system. They saw the most success and they made the playoffs each time they've had that feature running back. And Cam Akers is a healthier, cheaper version than Todd Gurley right now, so I think the future looks bright. The only concern I have with the Rams is Jared Goff in terms of his contract. That was a really I think they overpaid for him. That was a really big contract for them. He's proven he's capable of taking them to the Super Bowl, but that cap money might be limited because they're paying Goff so much. But as for the Packers side, I one of my concerns with Green Bay, why I didn't think wrongly that they weren't going to get out of the divisional round, was because I just thought they were a finesse team, and I thought come playoff time they were going to get manhandled like they did last year, and like most of times this year they didn't show being super physical. But man, this game they dominated the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line got a lot of push. They rushed for almost 200 yards. Their percentage of rushing plays almost doubled than that in the regular season, and it was a brilliant, brilliant game plan. They neutralized Aaron Donald. Aaron Jones, they got going. They got A.J. Dillon some carries, and then that beautiful play on the 1 yard line, or I think 1 or 2 yard line, when they saw man-to-man Adams and Ramsey, and just that quick motion out to the flat, and I don't see how anyone can stop that. So it was great execution. And then what was really awesome was that last play, or I'm sorry, yeah, in the fourth quarter, that kill shot when Rodgers threw that deep touchdown to Lazard off play action. They were running the ball on first and second downs the majority of that game, and and that was the perfect time to dial up that play action. And boy, did they bite. The Rams bite, and that was a thing of beauty and a thing of success. Aaron Rodgers obviously holding his weight and doing what he needed to do to get the win. So definitely impressive for Green Bay. They're going to look to host the winner of today's game. I still think the Saints are a better team than Green Bay, but we'll see. But overall, if you're a Packers fan, you have to be excited. Aaron Rodgers, you don't know how much longer he's going to be able to get there. So the window definitely closing for Green Bay. So they want to make the most of their opportunities. Aaron Rodgers' first time hosting an NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and to add to that really quickly, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Packers offense and, like you were mentioning, about their play action game, which has really been a good area of success this year. And I think that's a lot to do with their running game. Like, not only has Aaron Jones really proved himself as one of the top running backs in this league, but they have two viable backups behind them, and you saw that they were just running all over a really good Rams defense. And just with all three of those guys, even seeing if Aaron Jones might be leaving that team next year, I think that they have capable future, and you're seeing a lot of potential out of the young AJ Dillon. He really shined in that last game of the regular season, or I think it was week 16. Yeah, he had that breakout game with Aaron Jones out. And it seems even if Jones does leave the team next year, which there's a pretty good chance that he can, um, he that team's going to be in capable hands. But Bud, what was your takeaway from that game?
From Packers game.
Yeah,
Yeah. So as you know, Bobby was talking about that Alan Lazard play. It was actually running on like my highlights watching it as he was talking about it. Is kind of coincidental, but that wasn't the only one of those. There were a couple overthrown balls of like the same kind of play design to MVS and to Alan Lazard, and I believe MVS was targeted like 8 times and he only caught half of those. There were so many like more opportunities for these big plays, and it was just like slightly overthrown or it was in the hands and dropped. But yeah, this is a lot of big proving time for Aaron Rodgers. He hears all these players are so great and whatever, and it's like, okay, well now you're about to play like two of like the greatest ever play the game in the game itself, and in the division, and Drew Brees, but and now you get to do it at home, which has never happened in his era. So um, it's big step up for him. The running game was really good. You hope that Dylan's okay, so they could have them. I don't know what his status is right now, but you hope it's nothing too long term, and they can have him back for the next game. But if not, specifically for next season. But even with Dylan not being there, that's okay because they could just roll with Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones and be just fine. But this is it. Like this is going to be their run because there's definitely going to be some Aaron Jones probably. I don't see them renewing him. He's probably gonna go somewhere else next season. And you have literally one of the best receivers in the game. You have a really good tight end. You have a great offensive line, and your defense is actually playing pretty damn good ball. So it's like the Packers have a championship material. I do think that if they face the Saints, it's gonna be a really good game. Looking forward to it. Even if they're playing Tampa, it's going to be really good. But I think they could get the job done. I mean, we've seen time and time again. We've seen Green Bay play like really good and play in these close games or somehow pull it out. And worst comes to worst, Aaron Rodgers is the king of the Hail Mary as far as I'm concerned. But I really like the direction that they're going. They look pretty awesome, and it's fun to watch them play. And it's great to see Aaron Rodgers, just kind of, silence everybody a little bit and, be cocky about it. I really like it. I think they're going to get a Super Bowl. They were my Super Bowl pick for the NFC. But, we'll see what happens, I guess.
yeah, and the Packers were my pick to win the Super Bowl, and I think that they got off to as good of a start as you could have asked for. Playing against a tough Rams team. But I did want to take a minute to talk about the Rams and just a little look into what their future may be. They're definitely showing a lot of potential. Yeah, this was the Seahawks division this year, but the Rams were the kryptonite. Like, the Rams play really well against them, and I think that they have the potential to just beat any team any given week. Just that big question mark is their quarterback. Is Jared Goff going to be the guy? Yeah, they paid him a lot of money, but do you think that they could do some serious winning with Jared Goff as their quarterback, or do you think they need to consider switching it up, Bobby?
I think they can. They proved they went to a Super Bowl. I think the key again is going to be a really good running game for them, and obviously their defense, which Aaron Donald is never misses games. He's rarely ever not healthy enough, and this happened to be that time. But I think we've seen it. We've seen when in 2017, 2018, especially 2018 when they made the Super Bowl, Todd Gurley had a career year. The offense was running through Gurley, and then Goff kind of played off of that, and they had opened everything else up. So I think with the development of Cam Akers, I think you give him another offseason of being the guy. Maybe this year there'll be preseason and stuff, so he'll get even more accustomed. I think that's going to be the key. I think if they don't have a good running game, I think it's going to be hard for Goff. But I think he's definitely more than capable, and they can definitely win a Super Bowl with this current roster. And you kind of have to. I think you kind of have to stick with Goff because of that contract he has. I mean, I don't know if any team's gonna. It doesn't make sense for any team to take on that type of contract if you were to trade him anyway. So I think you kind of have to roll with him.
Yeah, and about their running game, I think their running game was phenomenal this year. Like, you look at whoever was running the ball, it did take them a while to figure out that Cam Akers was their guy. I mean, throughout the year, it was either Henderson, it was Brown, and then towards the end of the season, you really saw Cam Akers really step into his own. He's the rookie. He had that upside, and he really just showed, like, he's going to be a top back next year. And, the sky's the limit for that guy. Now, there was another game that we had yesterday. Bud, do you know anything about what happened in that late game last night?
I know that the Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens with a stout defense and stopped the run game. That's what I know. So friggin' happy. I was really nervous until about the third quarter. I was like, it stayed 3-3, and I was like, okay, they're playing pretty decent right now on the defensive side, but like, why isn't the offense going? And I just had this giant like knot in my stomach. I was really like not feeling it. But then, then the Bills put together a drive, and they got to Allen got the touchdown to Stephon Diggs. It was only a 3-yard touchdown, but it was a carefully strung together drive. Now the thing is, so let's talk about the Bills. We'll talk about the Bills offense real fast. The Bills offense really couldn't get going, and it was funny. They obviously they lost Zach Moss, but Dabble like completely abandoned the running game. They had 0 rushing attempts in like the first half, I think, or most of the first half. It was like pass, 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 punt, pass, 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 field goal. Like I literally was watching it in real time, and they were talking about it, and it was like the first time in like history that it had ever gone that way. They only had Devin Singletary and TJ Yeldon. And even Josh Allen wasn't committing to the run. He did have some rushes, but he ultimately ended up with like 3 yards because he lost some on a sack or something. But there were these plays where Josh Allen did have an open man, and I think that the weather had something to do with this, but he was throwing, and it would always be just like slightly ahead, and the wind was really something that affected this game. We'll get to that just a little bit, but there were he overshot Gabriel Davis, he overshot Stephon Diggs. There were a couple instances of this, and if those guys would have gotten the ball on any of those plays, it could, of course, it could be always a breakaway touchdown. But basically, it was a passing game, but it was a lot of back and forth. The whole first half was just a defensive struggle, and then it was just basically clock management after that. So the Bills got the 3-10, and then it was the Bills defense that ultimately sealed the deal for them. The Taron Johnson interception thrown by Lamar Jackson in the end zone tied a record for longest pick six for 101 yards. I was really impressed by that. I told you guys last night I was a little nervous. Like, once it first happened, I was like, don't come out of the box, just go down, get the ball. But he came out, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, and now we're gonna have like crap, field position. But I was like, okay, wait, he's gonna get the breakaway. I watched a play like 20 times last night just to like kind of see exactly what happened. And one of like my favorite things that happened in it was when Tre'Davious White came out and just out of nowhere, like out of frame, he runs in and he's running faster than Teron Johnson, and he's like at his side, just like block it for him, and then he shoves Lamar Jackson, and Teron Johnson gets the pick six, and I was really impressed by that. Just that he had the situational awareness, and I mean, there's a reason that we paid him the money. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL right now, and he was able to get there and protect his man and ensure that they got the points. And after that, I mean, so now we'll go to Baltimore and see what their issues were. After that, they were just disheveled. I mean, they were trying so hard all game, but the Bills definitely were not making it easy for Lamar Jackson one bit. Lamar really couldn't get going on the rush game. I mean, most of the running backs in general couldn't really get going. At the beginning, we saw Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins get a little bit of work, and yeah, I mean, virtually the same. That's kind of bizarre. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins both had 10 carries each for 42 yards each. Lamar Jackson had 9 carries for 34 yards. Now, there's a lot of pressure. The Bills' defensive line was not letting him, go and get away. Like, they were playing really good, like, eyes on him at all times. It was really good. There were a few plays where Lamar didn't see something he liked. He tried to scramble, realized that scrambling would be a bad idea, and then he'd throw it, and it'd be almost an incompletion. It forced him to throw the ball more, and he wasn't having a really good day on that front. He was 14 for 24, but he did throw for 162 yards, and of course he had the interception. But I mean, he got the ball around. He got the Mark Andrews 4 times. He wasn't the only one to throw to Marquise Brown, because I remember, Tyler Huntley came in after Lamar got a concussion, but Marquise Brown had 4 for 87, which is pretty much what they should have been doing for Hollywood Brown all season. But of course, that didn't really happen. But yeah, I mean, they just really couldn't get going, and I cannot remember the stat for the life of me. I was looking for it, but the Bills like rarely played like a zone defense. It was like 56% of all plays like this season they played a zone defense, and yesterday they played 83% of their defensive play calling was zone defense. So that kind of affected the Ravens a little bit, and it was pretty encouraging to see them contain like a high power like offense, like the Ravens, and especially if they're going in to wherever they're going, if they're going to stay at home and the Browns are going to come to them, or they're going to go to Kansas City, it's kind of encouraging on that front. Now, the other thing I said we would talk about the kicking, which is I think kind of important, especially in playoff games. The wind was just ripping there last night, and it affected both of the kickers. Tyler Bass, rookie kicker, who's pretty awesome, and Justin Tucker, who was like a fantasy kicking darling. They both had misses, and it was just the wind was gusting over 20 miles per hour there. So that kind of had an effect. Tyler Bass missed 2. You had two doinks from Justin Tucker too, and I kind of affected the sway of the game, because I mean, if the Ravens would have made the other 2, it would have been like 9 points for them, and that could have like really kept them kind of like in the mix of things, but that's ultimately like what kept it a low scoring game, just because they really couldn't get those kicks off, but they were able to get in field goal range a few times, so that kind of sucked. But Yeah, weather in Buffalo is definitely crappy this time of year. So if they're playing there and it's like this, it's either going to be snowing or it's going to be super cold or there's going to be crazy winds. So, but yeah, it was a good game. I'm really happy. Last time the Bills got this far was pretty much when I had become a fan. When I really started to learn what football was. I was about 6, 7 years old during Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas era, and my dad's friend was a Bills fan, and I kind of jumped into that boat. But I always stuck with them, so I'm really just a bunch of different emotions right now. But it's really cool to see, and basically getting a lot of congratulations texts and stuff. But the job ain't done. So really stoked that I get to keep watching football next week.
Yeah, and as a 28-year-old Dolphins fan, I envy you. And I wish to experience that feeling someday. Not sure when that's going to come. But I did want to talk about the Ravens a little bit more. And Bobby, specifically, you were very high on the Ravens, I know, as we talked going into this draft, and actually low on the Bills, not expecting them to win a single game. What was your takeaway from that game? And do you think that what do you think the future is for both of these teams?
Yeah, so I'll just start in general. So the Bills, against the Colts, and then last night, they were outgained in total yards in both games, and they're outgained in rushing yards and outgained in time of possession, and yet they still came away with the win. And I think you got to credit two things, in my opinion. One is you got to credit the coaching staff. The coaching staff for Buffalo, not only John mentioned it too. You're realizing the importance of coaching, the importance of play calling. I mean, you look at in the beginning of the season, they bring in Stephon Diggs, they change their philosophy, the play calling, all that stuff, and then leading up to even this game, the first drive of this game, and obviously we were all watching. Baltimore was looking like they were looking good. They ran the ball. I think it was like 6, 7 straight times. They were just gashing them. Harbaugh takes a timeout, which I don't think was a good timeout anyway. But you got to give credit to Leslie Frazier and the Bills defense for right then and there making that adjustment. They saw what the Ravens were doing. They saw what they were doing wrong. They made the adjustment, and then they shut the Ravens out. They shut them down the rest of the game. And you have to give credit to that defense and that coaching staff. And then even Brian Dable, we mentioned it as well in the Discord chat after the game. Throwing the ball, I think it was like 17 times. They only had 3 rushing, but like one of them was off script and one of them was a kneel down, so technically wasn't really a design rush. And then they came out in the first possession of the second half, and they went a lot of underneath. They went more balanced, and they took like 7, 8 minutes off the drive, off the clock, and they ended up scoring a touchdown in a brilliant play design of Stephon Diggs. So you have to give credit to the coaching staff. They're a very disciplined team, and you really have to give that credit. And the second thing too is why I think they're winning games as well is timely plays. And again, that's credit to the coaching staff, for credit to guys stepping up and making plays. So the Bills, as I mentioned before, that first drive of the second half take 7, 8 minutes off the clock. Ravens come down and they get to the red zone. They're taking 7 minutes off the clock. But what's the difference? The difference is the Bills come out off a bad Lamar throw, make that pick six, and make a big play. You talk about in the Colts game, the Colts were up 10-7 in the goal line. Bills make a great defensive stand, and then Allen brings them all the way back. They do a nice fake dummy count, get the Colts offside on that 4th and 3, and they march down the field and score a touchdown. So again, those are just some examples of some really timely plays by Buffalo. Great coaching staff as well, and you have to give them credit. In terms of the Ravens, I thought I was high on them because of their running game, because of their defense. I thought that Lamar was going to exercise those playoff demons, but I was wrong because Lamar looked like the same old Lamar. And when you're forced to throw the ball, he has issues. He has issues throwing the ball, and a lot of his production comes a lot on broken down plays where he just has an insane athletic ability to break the pocket and run. And they do have a good running game. They do have a good offensive line. They have a great defense, which kept them in the game for the first half of that game. So in terms of the Ravens in the offseason, I think that you have to stick with what they're doing because Lamar Jackson is just such a good talent and he does that so well. He's so dynamic that you have to keep that going. But I think you have to add a receiver in free agency or draft somebody. You have to address that. Just like Josh Allen, Lamar, this is now will be his third full season as the starter. He needs to work on some things like Josh Allen did in the offseason. And I think coupled with that, they need to have a better, more of a passing game threat because they can stick with what they're doing, but there's going to be times when, just like now, they're going to be down by 2 possessions or they're going to need to throw the ball, and they have to be able to do that. They don't have to be a pass-first offense, stick to what works, but when it comes to those certain situations, they have to do that, and Lamar hasn't shown that. So, yeah, I was wrong on that one. Lamar did win the first playoff game, but, yeah, the Bills were the better team that game, and they ended up winning. As for Buffalo moving forward, I'm still concerned about their lack of a running game. Josh Allen's been amazing, but I still think you have to run the ball at some point. But because they're making these plays, I mean, Allen and Diggs are just incredible right now. Again, Stephon Diggs, just such a good route runner. He gets open and opens everything else up for that offense. And then the defense under Leslie Frazier making those timely plays, seeming to come around a little bit. Definitely, and they have a lot of confidence. So I still would pick Kansas City to beat them. Cleveland, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens today. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on that game, bud.
Yeah, I agree with you on the running game. I'm a little concerned. I told you guys yesterday. Now it's just Devin Singletary, and I really like Devin Singletary. Like last year, he was friggin' awesome, and they were good at getting him the dump offs, and he could just break away and these like little play action screens and stuff like that. But and now we're like barely even seeing him. But I know that they're bringing some other people into the mix because Zach Moss got hurt. So now we're going to see Devonta Freeman. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, he was great when he was with Atlanta, but we saw he didn't really do much for the Giants. Now, the other guy who was a healthy scratch yesterday, Antonio Williams, he's awesome. Like in the one game that he played against the Dolphins, he had I'm ballparking. I don't have numbers in front of me, but around 60 yards on like 12 carries, and he scored 2 touchdowns. And but he was breaking tackles and things of that nature. I mean, we just need a little bit more because you got to try to run the ball a little bit. You got to try to find separation. I know we're a pass first offense, but I definitely want to see the running game, come back or give Singletary the ball and see if he could get something going. Something like it can't just be pass. It can't be like that. And especially even if we get ahead, we need to start really burning clock and moving the ball on the ground. So I'm totally with you on that. It's going to be tough for them, but I mean, going forward, the Bills' future is really bright. So even next season, they could definitely get that next running back piece, or hopefully Zach Moss will be healthy, or they might even bring in Christian Wade, who is our international player. He finally qualifies to come off practice squad next year. That guy's really awesome. He was a rugby player. We'll see if he shows up, but Josh Allen's going to be there to stay. They're going to give him a huge extension. The Bills are already going to approach his agents, and they're going to get a big deal done. And it's going to be a crazy. It's going to be. I don't think it'll be as much as Pat Mahomes, of course, but it's going to be up there. It's going to be like I would say it'd be probably a Russell Wilson type deal. They want him there. The community wants him there. Sean McDermott's not going anywhere, especially not now. They extended him before we even got to the playoffs. And same thing with Brandon Beane. So the ownership group is looking to move forward in this direction. And I mean, Josh Allen is young enough that, he could be there long term. So, get ready for that. I'm sure the offensive pieces are going to change every once in a while, but right now, this is what it's looking like for the Bills, going forward. And yeah, I couldn't be happier. If this is what it looks like, cool. I'm all for it. give him the extension. Do
And
whatever you got to do.
you can definitely see too that chemistry between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Like those guys just love having each other as teammates. You could tell it on and off the field that those two are happy to be on the same team together. And Bobby, I know your thoughts about Diggs. You you're just waiting for things to finally start to go wrong. Think that, but Bud, what do you think his future is like for the Bills? And do you think that this chemistry is going to stick around even if the Bills don't do too good?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to predict a player's attitude, and especially when one is outspoken as Stephon Diggs is. We saw it last year in Minnesota. He he did not like Kirk Cousins. He did not like that at all. I owned him in fantasy last year, and when he was still with Minnesota, and it was definitely a roller coaster. Now to if that happens with the Bills, I'm sure there's going to be some talk about it, but I think it's going to be more working through the issues rather than popping off to the press.
Or
If
throwing helmets on the sidelines.
that too, yeah. But uh, I mean, if you look at it, I don't think there could be really like. Of course, whenever we play a team sport, there's always going to be things to work through. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be animosity, one way or another. Um, Everybody's adrenaline's going. The coaches, the players, the fans, everything. And if something goes wrong, it's a matter of working through it. And I think this season, with how well it's gone and how good of a season that Stephon Diggs has had, I mean, he's arguably top three, top four wide receiver in rankings this year. The numbers are just there. He led in receptions, he led in yardage, and I think that he has a lot of respect for Josh Allen now. So if there's something like, I don't know how long Stephon will remain with the team, but I know he's still got a few years. But I think it's going to be a matter of them being able to work through the issues, and I think that they totally can. It's just going to be a lot of studying the playbook, doing practice, uh, you know, running routes, and getting it correct. And I think that they're able to do that just based off of what happened this season.
All right, so we do have a couple of games still to go this weekend. First, we have the Chiefs and we have the Browns. We talked a little bit about this game earlier. The Chiefs coming off of their bye week, and Patrick Mahomes with plenty of rest going up against the hot Cleveland Browns. Never thought I would say that. But, Bobby, I'm going to start with you, and what are your thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, well, first off, talking about coaching, I think Kevin Stefanski definitely deserves to be mentioned in the potential coach of the year. I mean, you talk about changing the culture there. You talk about bringing the right system for Baker Mayfield and that whole team. I mean, you can just see the body language in that team. It's night and day from last season. And he's getting the best out of his players. He's getting the best out of Baker Mayfield. And that performance against Pittsburgh was just outstanding. I think that if they, again, Cleveland's best chance, I think, again, is to continue to get that running game going. That's the key for Kevin Stefanski's system, even from Minnesota. That's the key for Baker Mayfield as well. And then from there, that gives him ability to roll out. He's very accurate on the run. He's been running the ball and making, or not design runs, but he's been scrambling and making some key plays as well. Jarvis Landry's getting open. So I think that's the key for Cleveland. They have to be able to move the ball. They have to dominate the line of scrimmage on offense, kind of like what the Packers did against the Rams, in order for them to win that game. I am concerned about their defense again. Hasn't been good all year. Wasn't very good against Pittsburgh. They kind of let them get back into that game a little bit, even though they had that touchdown in the beginning. And Kansas City, I mean, look, I believe Andy Reid's the best coach in football. I'm not worried about them being rusty. People are saying they're concerned they look flat against Atlanta. Well, I would say that, Tyreek Hill wasn't 100% healthy, and I think they just needed some rest. Andy Reid's one of the best I think the best coach, like I said, and coming off of a bye week, coming off a bye week, basically 2 bye weeks. There's no one better than him. He'll have those guys ready. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, the moment's not too big for him. He's been in the biggest game there is in the Super Bowl. This is his 3rd straight year in the playoffs. He knows the stakes, and I think this offense and this whole team really is going to be ready to roll. So I like Kansas City here, but I could see a good game, and if Cleveland were to upset, I wouldn't be totally shocked either, because I think they're capable. But if I had to put money on it, I would take Kansas City here, just mostly because Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think he's once in a generation talent. I think he has the chance to be the greatest of all time. I know it might be a little early to say that, but everything I've seen, I mean, I just think he has that potential, and can't bet against someone like that in this game.
Yeah, and it's hard to really say, like, even looking back at some of the great quarterbacks, who have you seen who just plays or throws the ball quite like Patrick Mahomes, that he has the arm strength and accuracy that he could pinpoint 70 yards down the field exactly where he wants to throw. He could scramble. He could throw with his off arm. Like, there's nothing Patrick Mahomes can't do. And yeah, whether or not how many Super Bowls he ends up winning, whether he could keep it going this year, I mean, the future is so bright for him. But the Cleveland Browns are looking good too, and their running game is what's going to be able to get them to win this game if they're going to do it. It's going to come from Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Now, Kareem Hunt going up against Kansas City, it makes for an interesting storyline. And Bud, I wanted your take on not only Kareem Hunt, but this Browns rushing game in general, and whether you think that's going to be enough to stand a chance against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting against Kareem Hunt today because I want Nick Chubb to get the carries for our little fantasy matchup that we have going on. Because I lost 2 running backs as of yesterday, so I need Nick Chubb to do good. But yeah, so Hunt being there, I heard this on another show. They were kind of projecting Nick Chubb going forward in terms of fantasy rankings, and he definitely needs to be in the conversation, but he definitely takes a step back from the other guys because he's not the one true running back. Where he should be, say a ballpark in here, so don't kill me. But like a 5th or 6th overall pick in the first round, he's kind of almost in the same spot where he was before because with Kareem Hunt being there and the possibility of him getting extended to stay there, he's going to eat into the carry share, and Kareem Hunt's awesome too. I mean, and this kind of has like a revenge game narrative for him. Not really. I mean, there was no bad blood. He was cut from the team for doing something that was pretty terrible. So the rules were followed, but he's going to play hard. He's a good running back. Nick Chubb is just totally impressive. After he came back from the injury, he was his old self again. The Browns did it correctly in getting him back up to speed. The rushing game here is really good. I own Nick Chubb, and I want to put more shares into him again, but there's definitely the expectation that it's going to be a split, not like a 50-50 split or anything like that. It's going to be, and I don't want to say hot hand either. It's going to be a situational type thing with the running backs, because Kareem Hunt can catch and run and do both, but Nick Chubb is definitely the better downfield runner. So if they choose to go in that direction, that's going to be who they're going to lean on. So I mean, I definitely like both, but that definitely helps them in this case. I think if they're going to be able to compete today against the Chiefs, they are going to have to run the ball a lot. But Baker's also going to have to throw in certain situations too. But I think the way that they win this game is definitely going to be on the ground. So I expect a big game out of Nick Chubb today.
Yeah, and the Cleveland Browns' strength definitely comes through their running game, but it is hard to run the ball when you're down, and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs could put up points fast. Bobby, if the Chiefs get out to a 14-point lead early in the game, what chances do you give Baker Mayfield and that Cleveland Browns passing game to throw their way back into that game?
Well, I like what I saw from from that game last week, and I think they're more than capable of it. The issue with me isn't their offense; it's their defense. Their defense hasn't been very good, especially their secondary. That would be my issue, is keeping Mahomes and Kansas City from scoring, because at that point, if you're up 14-0, you're more than happy just to exchange points. So, and who knows what we're going to see from Kansas City's defense has been up and down all year. So, um, I don't have any. I have confidence in that offense. That wouldn't be my concern with Cleveland. It would be on the defensive end.
Yeah, and this is definitely supposed to be a high-scoring event. Now, we do have one other game tonight. We have Tom Brady versus Drew Brees, the Saints and the Bucks. Bud, what are your thoughts on how that game's going to go down tonight?
I'll be watching very intently. I'm looking forward to it. It's crazy that we're still talking about Tom Brady and Drew Brees in 2021. I'm like, I'm kind of impressed at the fact that Brady was able to come and do it with another team and to figure it out somewhat. They did have some problems uh, on and off throughout the season, but all those receivers being there has kind of really helped him flourish. And I think it's just crazy, like, because he changed his game, his passing game. Look, I don't like the guy. We had to deal with him in our division for how long? But
Forever.
yeah, pretty much. It's almost like Anchorman when Mantooth is like, "Damn, I respect you." Like, I kind of respect him because yeah, the passing game was completely different from when he was in New England. He never really threw the deep ball. Now he's throwing a deep ball and he's connecting to like Scotty Miller, whoever Scotty Miller is. But Scotty Miller and Mike Evans and Godwin, he's able to put the ball wherever. He's able to sling it. It's like, damn, this man's 41, 42 years old, and he's doing this. And it'll be really interesting to see how he works with everybody. And even the tight ends, like Gronk. I know Gronk didn't do anything last game, but maybe that changes today. But even Gronk was looking pretty decent towards the back end of the season. But the running game over there is kind of concerning too. I mean, we don't even know like what's going on. I think Ronald Jones is going to be out again this week, and it's going to be a Leonard Fournette carry game, and I don't even know what Keyshawn Vaughn's status is, so it might just be Leonard Fournette all day. And so that's been kind of an on and off situation. That's also a situation I'm totally going to avoid next year because I got caught up in the middle of it this year. Arians' coach speak is
there's a lot to manage in life
dealing with, but so we have no idea what's going to go on there. But I expect Leonard Fournette to be the lead carrier there. The Saints are looking awesome too. I do think that the Saints pulled this game out. This is like there's so many storylines that we could talk about in the NFC with all these quarterbacks and all these teams. But Drew Brees, they're saying that this is his last year, regardless of what happens. So you kind of wonder if Brees is going to ball out. Michael Thomas is back looking healthy. Alvin Kamara is looking great. Alvin Kamara is going to be the lead carrying back. I don't know if you guys know that, but Latavius Murray is going to be out today. So running wise, it's going to be him. There is no Taysom Hill either. So that's kind of a big thing. So we won't be seeing the 4th and 1s with Taysom Hill coming out and getting the first down. We're not going to see that. So you wonder if we might see like Jameis Winston maybe on like some of these like trick plays. But even the other receivers are really good. I've always been high on Traquan Smith. I believe that's a UCF product, right, K-Mac?
Yes, he is.
Yep.
Just like Gabriel
So
Davis.
yes. See, look at all these UCF guys that are like showing up. They're in the playoffs. They're on like competitors. Love it. Yeah, I mean you have Cook too, and he's been playing slightly better, so it looks promising on that front. But New Orleans defense has actually been pretty decent too. So you think they're at least going to bring some competition and some coverage to those Tampa Bay receivers, and it's going to be a tough outing for them at first. And you kind of hope that they can bring some pressure to Tom Brady. I mean, that's the only way that they're going to be able to shut down that offense a little bit and come away. I'm not worried about the offensive side of the football for New Orleans, but I am for Tampa, especially if that defense plays really good.
Yeah, that Latavius Murray is actually news to me. I hadn't heard about that. Also, another UCF guy. he, yeah, I have him in our fantasy playoff matchup we got going on right now. So I thought I was going into today with a full squad, but unfortunately, he's going to be out, and we have no replacements or anything in that our league. So, yeah, that should be interesting. But yeah, this should be a interesting game. The two teams have already played twice this year, with the Saints winning both times. I'm not expecting any different tonight. The Saints are just too good, and even though Brees is not the Brees of old, I think we should still get an exciting matchup tonight between him and Tom Brady. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Bobby.
Two things for me. One, Bud talked a little bit about the Bucs running game, and I think that's the key for the Bucs. They're going to have to be able to run the ball some sort. I think one of the reasons why the Saints dominated the Bucs the last two times is because they just match up really well with Bruce Arians' vertical type offense. They have the guys in coverage to be able to match up with them. Marshawn Lattimore's owned Mike Evans throughout both of their careers, and the Saints have their defense in the second half of the year has been one of the best in the NFL and is really playing well. So the Bucs, I think, are going to have to be able to run the ball to really get them off balance and to be able to move it down the field. And then as for the Saints, you guys mentioned about Hill being out and Murray. I think that's a bigger deal than people think because Drew Brees, like Bud mentioned at this stage, isn't that the same guy as he was, 5-10 years ago. And the Saints aren't necessarily a big time vertical team. They're very somewhat. They can do a little bit of dink and dunk. They do a lot of ball control. They run the ball a lot. And Murray and Hill, when they're healthy, they are involved in this offense. And I think I think it's crucial for the Saints to be able to run the football throughout this whole playoff run. As you guys probably know, I believe in running the football anyway, especially playoff time. But Murray and Hill bring that physical downhill style running element to the Saints. Now Kamara can do that as well, but I think he's more suited. He's a better pass catcher than between the tackles. So obviously he's going to be their feature guy, and I still think the Saints are going to win this game. I just think they're the more complete team than the Bucs. I think they're the most complete team in the NFL. But I think it's going to be a very interesting, very close game, and it should be a fun one.
Yeah, and the Saints, talking about that running game, not only in the running game, but in the passing game, they kind of depend on that change of pace. Just seeing that different kind of run from the way that Kamara goes to Latavius Murray, who's really just going to burst through and just, get between the tackles, as you were saying. But Drew Brees, a lot of the Saints' game plan that's been interesting, especially you see this in the goal line situations too. When you have Taysom Hill going out there, he's running the ball, but a lot of times he's not being stopped, and they're gonna have to play without that dimension. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to see Jameis Winston in that position. It was very interesting to see, even with Drew Brees out, that we saw no Winston at all. But I mean, this is Sean Payton's way of playing. It's hard to know exactly what he's going to do. You know that his playbook isn't entirely straightforward, and you're going to wonder whether he's going to use some kind of trickery going into this game against the Bucks.
Oh, were you talking to me?
Sure.
I didn't. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm totally with you. Exactly. You know, pretty much what we were just all saying. Like, we have this ongoing joke in my big league, and we talk about Drew Brees. Our commissioner has never been a fan of him. There was the one year where he had a really great season, and me and one other guy were like super high on Drew Brees, and he was like, "Oh, he's declining." So we always call him Drew Brees declining, and so now it's just a joke, and I'll always give stats, and he's like, "You're cherry picking stats," but now he's declining for real. Like, I don't know, man. It's like the end of like an era, and yeah, now he doesn't have like the other like rushing guys to like really lean on, and we saw Taysom Hill come in a lot this year, and um, I think Sean Payton's a good enough coach to help get it done, one way or another. But yeah, it's going to be really dependent on Alvin Kamara today, and I see him having just a monster game today, and kind of getting ahead of the Bucks is going to be really key, and it needs to happen early on.
Yeah, and Tom Brady is not having a slouch of a season either. Like, he's definitely put up some huge numbers despite being like, what is he now, 68 years old? 70? I don't know, something like that.
These guys are old, man.
But yeah, these guys have been playing basically they've been playing forever, and just seeing them still match up in huge games with a chance to go play the Packers at the NFC Championship. Just, it's exciting to see, and I'm definitely be tuned in tonight to see how this game goes. Now, I wanted to talk a bit about this Tampa Bay passing game, and the Saints have a tough defense. And how do you think that Brady and company is going to do against the Saints, Bobby?
Well, again, I think it all comes down to if they can run the ball. If they can't run the ball, they're going to be in for a long day. Those corners match up really well against those vertical receivers, the vertical offense the Bucs are trying to do. Marshawn Lattimore, Janoris Jenkins was a great acquisition for them. Their other cornerback, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, is physical guy, and Malcolm Jenkins, longtime veteran, manning the safety area for the Saints, and we saw them dominate the Bucs receivers the last two times. The one thing I will say though is when the first two times the Bucs played the Saints, Antonio Brown was either not with them or kind of just getting acclimated, and he's been really kind of playing he's been playing better of late, and I think that just comes with more time being with Brady. I think him and Gronkowski both could be really key X factors here for the Buccaneers. And Tom Brady, I mean, it's just the Tom Brady factor in general too. I mean, him in the playoffs, it's just the intangibles that he has. That alone as well, would can affect the way they're going to be playing, despite what anything says on paper. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucs do make this competitive. They do put up some points, but overall, I'm expecting the Saints to eventually close it out, and eventually, I think they're going to get to Brady as well.
All right, so we did already give our Super Bowl picks last week, but I do want to give a quick refresher to say who we think is going to win tonight's game. I think it's pretty straightforward. Like this weekend, I picked all the favorites to go forward. I know it's a boring, but I think that it's right. I see easily the Chiefs and the Saints both take care of business tonight and play in their respective championship games. But Bud, who do you have winning in both of these games tonight?
Well, so my bracket's busted, honestly, because I picked the upset for I picked Washington to beat the Bucs, and that didn't happen. So the Bucs are here, and I did pick Green Bay to move on, so I'm at least right on that front. Same thing with Buffalo on the other side. If I had to really guess, I'm definitely going to take the favorites here. I am going to take the Saints over the Bucs. and I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Browns. I think realistically that's what it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see an upset. More so, I think if there was to be an upset, it would probably be the Bucks beating the Saints. But I don't know if the Browns could really get it done overall, because I have a very strong feeling that we are going to see the run game, but we're going to see like an incredible play from Baker Mayfield, or we're going to see a really bad one way or the other. There's no in between. So you wonder if you're going to see the good one or you're going to see the really bad one, because we've seen the really bad one more than we've seen the really good one. You know what I mean?
And we could still see a really good Baker Mayfield and them still lose just because that Chiefs offense is so good. Like, there have been a lot of talk about a shootout. And I just want to bring out, I sent this over to the guys earlier, that old game, Oklahoma, Texas Tech. Anytime these two guys match up, this game's always brought up when Baker Mayfield threw for 545 yards and 7 touchdowns. And on the other side, Patrick Mahomes threw for 734 yards, also on 88 pass attempts, and 5 touchdowns. So these two definitely are bringing the fireworks. And while we're probably not going to have that high of a passing game, it still should be exciting. And definitely see potential for a shootout in the works. So, Bobby, I asked Bud, I said my picks. You on the same lines? You see both the Saints and the Chiefs advancing tonight?
I mean, seeing as that's my Super Bowl prediction, yeah, I would. But even that aside, yeah, I think so. I could see both of them winning today. But again, like Bud mentioned, you wouldn't be super surprised to see the Bucks win or necessarily Cleveland. Like at this point in the playoffs, like these are all good football teams. So it's not like you would be super surprised if a team upset another team, but at the same time, yeah, I'm going to go with the Chiefs and the Saints today.
All right. Now, before we close out, I just wanted to bring up one topic that we've all been talking about a lot over here, and that is Deshaun Watson. Now, the last time we had a show, there were rumors circulating that he was unhappy with the Texans and that he may have wanted out. There's that picture going on of him wearing the Dolphins shirt, and we talked about the possibility of him being traded to the Dolphins and whether we would take the trade for him or Tua, since there are a couple of Dolphins fans on the show. But ever since then, things have really ramped up, and it seems way more likely than not that Deshaun Watson isn't going to be playing for that Texans organization again. He has felt betrayed by the organization. He is just not in a good place with them, and makes you wonder, where do you see Deshaun Watson going next year, Bud?
Not only was he wearing a Dolphins shirt, I heard he was wearing a Falcons jacket yesterday.
Oh,
so
yeah.
take that for what it's worth. I like that. I think that's a perfect fit, especially with the weapons over there. And they're literally just a running back away from having a really good offense. Defense needs a ton of work, but the offense is pretty favorable. But it stems, a lot of this stems, I'll try to keep this as short as possible, but this organization, man, is really like tanking all these like incredibly like talented players. And it's such a bummer because I've been to Texans games. I've been to NRG Stadium. My aunt lives like right down the road, and she always gives me her tickets, and I go, and I've seen Deshaun play. I've seen the guys before him play too, and it wasn't as good. But they ran DeAndre Hopkins out. They traded him, and that's mostly Bill O'Brien's deal. But yeah, the management and not conferring with him over the GM when they told him that they would. If you wanted this guy to be your franchise guy and you wanted him to be a part of the organization, why even say that and then not do it? And I honestly, I don't even know what they're doing anymore. Everybody is kind of, chirping even right now on Twitter, talking about trade packages. And Adam Schefter says there's a growing sense for people in and around the Texans organization that Deshaun Watson has played his last snap for the team. It's early in the offseason. There's a lot of time left, but Watson's feelings cannot and should not be underestimated. I mean, he's got he's got leverage, and they're talking about it. They don't even have a head coach right now. I haven't even heard anything on their head coaching search. Like, they got problems, man. I don't blame Deshaun for wanting to get out at this point. If you're Deshaun, you try to communicate with the team within your needs, and the team themselves, the organization, they need to find a head coach. And if they're not gonna include Deshaun Watson on anything, then they need to go ahead and move on, and they need to work with other teams to do a trade package. And a lot of people are saying the Jets are a good favorite just because of the amount of picks that they have. They have the second overall pick this year. That kind of gets you a quarterback. They also have two firsts in 2022, and then their first in like 2023. And you could go ahead and you could load that up and try to get him. But I that's just a hypothetical. Maybe he could go to New York, but I think the more I think about it, we talked about the Tua trade for him and whatever else. I wouldn't be opposed to it. He's a damn good quarterback. For Miami, I think it would be a good fit. For the Falcons, I think he'd have a good fit there. New York, he could have a really good fit. But I mean, there's no telling. There's no telling that even the Texans would get it done. They would just, he probably wouldn't show up to practice. He would take a hit on his money and his contract. It's the Texans we're talking about here, and yeah. I feel really bad for the people of Houston because they are some diehard fans out there, man. Like, they love their teams, and this is a huge bummer, and it stems everywhere. Like, every organization in Houston is just like complete crap right now. Astros are cheaters. Houston's having so many issues with James Harden. James Harden bailed on that team, and now Deshaun wants out.
Yeah, and I just want to bring back to the thought of him going to Atlanta really quick. Yeah, I think that would actually probably be the best fit for him. Just seeing those weapons that they have, and Ridley, Julio Jones for about a third of the season possibly, and Gage, like, that would definitely be a fun place to see Deshaun Watson throw the ball. And they did just hire Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator from the Tennessee Titans, to be their new head coach. He did wonders with Ryan Tannehill over the last couple years, and just to see if they could do that kind of work with Deshaun Watson, who I believe is like leaps and bounds better than Tannehill. It should be interesting to see if they could get that pairing over there in Atlanta. But real quick, before we close out, Bobby, I just wanted to get your take really quick on what you see happening with Deshaun Watson.
Well, first of all, Bud couldn't have said it any better. I couldn't have said it any better myself when Bud talked about the Texans. Look, I just would add one more thing. Like, you've never seen this in NFL history where you have a once-in-a-generation franchise QB, only 25 years old, immensely talented, led you to the playoffs multiple times, won a few playoff games in this situation. Like, someone like that being on the market is just unheard of. And that, again, it just goes back to the top. A lot of these NFL teams, it starts at the top and it works its way down. It's management, But in terms of Deshaun Watson, yeah, I love the hire of Arthur Smith to Atlanta for all the reasons you mentioned, K-Mac, about him, development of Tannehill and everything. And I think he would be a great fit there as well. I guess you could consider Pittsburgh with the way they run that type of offense with those receivers. But I don't know if I see them trading him to Pittsburgh. And, as a Dolphins fan, I would love to see him in Miami. We had our talks about that. I think the Dolphins need that. I mean, we've been lacking that since Marino, and we need, especially with Buffalo in our division and Mahomes in the AFC and all these young quarterbacks coming out, like, we need a proven franchise guy. And I think we're in a win-win situation, of course, because I'd love to have Tua with those draft picks and develop him if we can get weapons. And I'm not sure if Chris Greer and the Dolphins are going to make that type of move. I think Flores and all them had a plan coming in. They're trying to stay patient, stick to their plan. But you never know. I mean, it could happen. But it definitely makes some sort of sense in Miami as well because of the assets that they possess. Bud Talk was talking about the Jets' assets as well. The Dolphins are another team that has some pretty good tradable assets. So, and it would make sense for Houston too, because you get a young developing quarterback in Tua, and you get some draft picks so you can help build towards the future. One of the problems with O'Brien and that management was not only did they trade away their star power, but they don't have any draft picks. They don't have like a way out for the future too. So they're kind of stuck right now with what they have, and definitely a worse team than the previous years past. So it might give Houston a way out. They might be a little desperate. We'll see. I'd love to see him come to Miami though.
Yeah, Houston's just full of unhappy superstars that won out. But yeah, I mean, as a Dolphins fan, yeah, I'd like to see him in a Dolphins uniform, but I think Bobby said it best. Like, it's a win-win situation for them. The Dolphins and Brian Flores in particular just seem very committed to Tua's development, and it should be interesting to see what they have with a new offensive system, and with a year of practice and healing from that hip injury under his belt to see if he's going to be any different, because I think as Dolphins fans we could all agree Tua wasn't exactly what we were hoping for this year, but I think there is still a ton of potential. You look at the way he played at Alabama, and he was able to throw the ball deep downfield. Of course, his receivers were able to get a lot more open than the weapons he had in Miami, but you didn't really see that at all this year. And he was moving around more in Alabama, and I'm not sure whether it is a lack of confidence that you're seeing with him at the professional level, or whether he's worried about getting re-injured, or just seeing the size difference of these guys. Yeah, he played at Alabama, where it's the closest thing from the SEC going into the NFL, but still, when you get to NFL, these defenders are on a whole nother level, and Tua is not tall at all, and he's a small guy, and he's put into a situation where he's playing with these pro-level guys, and it's not Bama where you're just dominating every team that's in your way anymore. And you're seeing the talent that was around him in that team, and just seeing all these guys. I've been looking back in some of that old footage. Love to see that reunion with him and Smith as a possibility, but just seeing all that footage back for the last few years that he and Smith were together in Alabama, and just looking at the level of talent that you had on that team, it was insane. So yeah, I think that Tua still has the potential. Like I said, I'd be happy either way, but I think we are running out of time here today. So enough rambling on about Tua. I could do that for hours. So yeah, I think that we had a pretty decent show today.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, we talked about the games coming up, and we still, who knows? We keep saying that our next show is going to be our last, but we still have the Super Bowl to talk about. We got AFC and NFC Championship happening next week, so who knows when you'll see us next. But we are going to be here still answering any questions you might have, if you have any. If not, we'll just be here talking football either way. So for Bud Stanio and Bobby Digital Janice, I'm Kevin K. Mac McCartney, and we'll see you next time.